So I thought this was interesting, and I wanted to start with this because this is sort of the success that CSUN has achieved. Best College for You Money, Money Magazine, top 25 institution, #2 leader in diversity, part of a huge, one of the largest university system, a large number of alumni through the system. And then, according to Professor Andrew Surmani, the music department is ranked in the top 25 in the world. So I thought this was very interesting because this is the system that you're going to belong to. And once you graduated and you want to take advantage of this, you want to use this as elements that you can market yourself. So what would you do? Well, there will be some points for participation. There will be 2 quizzes. There will be a set of assignments. There will be different presentations. So the first thing I want to do is look at, let's look at Canvas, the elements in order for you to be able to present. So what I did is I created the file with the name of the team that should be the team that is interested in these specific files. So team 1 is interested in that file called Matters. Team 2 is interested in this file, team 3, and so forth. So the advantage is that way you know which file belongs to your team. Now, having said this, it is in your interest, and you actually will see people presenting these different clients that we have served in the MIA program. And you will see the client, but I think you want to be curious to look at not only the clients that you're presenting, so that I'm sure you will, but look at the other clients as well. Why would you want to look at the other clients? Because they are like case study. So you find out what the past MIA have done for the clients by looking at those files. How helpful is this? It's helpful, but it's not going to give you the solution of what to do with Tariq Taylor, the client that will be helping for this class. For the band is called Nishwaki. So we are not, at this moment, we don't know what needs to be done in order to make him a successful musician and singer. We don't know. Looking at what has been done in the past is helpful, but there's no warranty that what's been done in the past is going to work for this client. And it's actually very possible that it will not work for this client. So usually what works is a combination of picking components of things that were done in the past in order to create a combination that will be appropriate for the new client. So does anyone understand this idea? You know, it's a little bit like a chef. It's if you want to make a new recipe, a new menu, you look at the menu from the past and you borrow components of the past menu in order to make the new menu. So that's not sufficient. Oftentimes, you have to borrow some components, and it's the combination that makes it new. But sometimes you also have to integrate some new components that were not used in the past. So that's what becomes very difficult. The idea is the true innovation components that you're going to add probably will not be a large percentage. So if I had to say the percentage, it's possible that the combination of past things but put together in a new way is 80%. And then the absolute new things that you really had in there is like 20. But the combination of all of this makes it actually quite remarkable and very well suited for the client. So now you're probably thinking, well, don't people do that when they make a new song? I guess, you know, there is kind of like a mixture of different sound that reminds you of different music, and nothing is really new 100%. It's some level of newness in there. So that's how you're going to proceed. So that's why I think by having the curiosity of looking at the past projects. You know, I've done over 1,000 projects. So I'm not going to create a folder with 1,000 projects inside. I only took the music projects that will be useful for this cohort. And so you look at them all, it will be in your benefit. However, just know that only some of these will be the one that will be for your team. So what I want to do now is to therefore specifically look at the syllabus. So inside the syllabus, you have essentially all the rules and details and descriptions on the second page. So the class, which should be about marketing and have objective for you to understand the key components of marketing and apply these key components in a real situation for the client. Therefore, in order to succeed in this class, you need to understand these concepts in order to be able to use them and respond to them inside the quiz. There would be 2 quizzes with multiple choice and some open-ended. So it's a combination of multiple choice and open-ended. It's not just one only, there's both. And then there will be different subjects that need to be presented. So the one thing each group is going to present is one of the past clients. So you're going to pretend that you are the consultant for the past client. So the client for last cohort was called Alex Ritchie. And so there's going to be 2 groups out of the 5 that will have different presentation completed by 2021 cohort. And they will have the video, for example, Alex Ritchie, you'll have the video and you will have their PowerPoint. And then you're going to have to study this and then pretend that you are that team that completed this work and come to class and present it as if you had done it. So in business, this is very common, is that you have to sort of put yourself in the skin of a marketer. That's what I want you to do. And look at past projects and put yourself in the shoes of the people that did this project. Now, I'm not trying to get you to become an actor where you have a role and you see these people and replicate 100% what the previous groups recommended for Alex Ritchie to do. Because I'm not looking to see how good you are at being a copycat. I would like, so if you're, let's say, presenting 100% like that group before, would that be good? I think it will be good because I'm giving you good groups to copy, to emulate. So if you can, from the get-go, emulate someone that's at the end of the semester, pretend that you're someone that's completed this at the end of the semester, at the beginning of the semester, I think this is good. But even better than this is if you can actually look at what they said and then come up with something that you think is even superior to what they said. That's even better. How often people come up with something superior and give their own opinion? I would say 15% of the time. Most of the time, what people do is they play it safe, which is they present more or less the same idea, the same argument, the same point that the previous groups. It's even more true for the first, second team that will be presenting, because you're, I would say, sort of green at the beginning. The first and second team are more green, and people become more comfortable when we get to be at the end of February than at the beginning of February. And so I expect that. I would not be surprised that that's the way. I'm just being honest with you. I want you to not feel threatened by the exercise. You see, there's a number of people, they feel threatened by the exercise because they say, I've never done marketing before. This professor is sort of unrealistic because he's asking us to pretend, week 2, week 3, to have done this class when we haven't done this class. That's unrealistic. It is not, because I've done it many, many times, and I'm looking at you realistically by just seeing how you do it. And it's kind of interesting, because there's some people, you almost feel like they do have marketing as a natural talent, and therefore they jump in pretty naturally, and they make this project their project, even though they haven't done it. Someone else that did it, but they quickly capture what's essential. So that's the key: is how good are you to capture what's essential. And so in business, in marketing, what's essential is, what is the problem, what's the solution, and how we're going to implement the solution. Problem, solution, and then plan to implement the solution. And what do we expect to get? The objectives. Is there more to that? There's more to that, but that's 90% if you can capture this. So it takes a few times to do it, because so it's funny, in the student evaluation, there's some people that says, oh, we should be practicing many more time presenting niche wacky. So there's going to be some people, just before Easter, when the student evaluations are going to say, we should have practiced many more time niche wacky. But the problem is, I don't want you to be trained on how to serve niche wacky. I want you to experience as many situations as possible, different situations as possible. So when you actually present niche wacky, you have not been narrow-minded by just thinking niche wacky, niche wacky, niche wacky. So this method is not me. It was created by many universities. One of them is called Harvard. I guess you've heard of Harvard. And they've created it by doing what's the most common and most used way in the world. It's called Harvard case study. And it's used by 99.9%. But we're not going to do Harvard case study. What we're going to do is, I'm going to give you past clients, and then you're going to just wear it as a uniform and pretend it's yours. And that's your way of doing your Harvard case study. Because Harvard case study for the music industry, that would put you in this situation. There's not that many, and therefore we may as well use our own homemade project produced by the previous students. So that way you can directly connect with it, I suppose. Do you have any question for this? In some way, I feel like telling you, oh yeah, Ciara, you don't have access to the Canvas page. Yeah, I'm aware of this. I mean, this is like to be not yet. Has nothing to do with the Canvas page. Is a situation needs to be sorted with the enrollment. So it will. Fake it, make it. You've heard this before, right? Do you think that's a term that can be used in business? Fake it, make it. Yeah. All right. So it's very much of a business. Is it good? Is fake it, make it good? Don't be shy. It's okay.
My thought is to say that I wish there wasn't such a need to fake it till you make it. I wish people were better equipped with actual tools at the time that they emerge into the market.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's true. You could say, it's too bad that people have to fake it. I wish people didn't have to fake it. Okay, so that's one point of view, and it's, I think, a very good point. Anyone else as another point of view?
Speaking just anecdotally, in my life, when I have maybe reached for things that I wasn't ready to yet, and I kind of had to fake it, I learned so quickly in a short amount of time, and then was able to make that standard eventually, even though I didn't start that way. But that's just an anecdote.
Well, I think it's an anecdote that I call being uncomfortable. Do you learn from doing the things that you're comfortable, or do you learn more from doing the things that you're not comfortable?
Yeah, uncomfortable for sure. Yeah.
Uncomfortable. So for example, people that know me, and I'm not trying to say that I'm amazing. That's not the point. The point, you see, I'm speaking to 29 people right now. So it always sounds of like bragging, but it's because I have nothing to gain. I just want to hope to influence just one person if I can. And so in my life, some people would think I'm crazy because I love being uncomfortable. So it's like, let's say I start learning English and then I finally able to speak English. Then I want to learn another language because I want to feel again uncomfortable and nobody understands me. So then I learn Spanish, then everybody understands my Spanish. Then quickly, oh, I'm too comfortable in French, in Spanish, in English, quick, learn Italian. Now I'm finally uncomfortable. Oh yes, it's so nice to be uncomfortable. Nobody understands me. But that thing that I constantly seek, you know, I got my PhD, I was 25. I got my master's degree, I was 20 years old. So for me, it's almost just part of my personality. Is like, if it's hard, if it looks like I'm gonna fail, I love it. If it looks like I'm gonna implode, if it looks like I'm gonna be miserable, then that's what I want to do. So people that know me, they wonder if I'm crazy. People that don't know me, they think it's masochism, but it's not masochism. It's that I find that learning is so fascinating, and I find that there's so much to learn. I mean, 20 years ago when I discovered Wikipedia, I was like blown away. I love it because it's constant ignorance for me to look at Wikipedia. It's like, I feel like I know nothing. I feel like, how can I even call myself professor after I go in Wikipedia? It's like page after page, link after link, clicking here, clicking there, clicking here, clicking there. It's like, wow, I know nothing. And I remember when I was a kid, I had a friend that was very wealthy, and I would go to his house, and he had the Encyclopedia Universalis, which was very expensive. That was like $10,000, and he had the whole edition. And you pull this book, and this book you had to hold it with your two hands. And I would open a random page, and I would know nothing, and I would go, "Wow, this is brilliant! I love it. I know nothing." So I think this. I'm not saying I'm brilliant. I'm not saying I'm better. I'm just telling you, it's because of that state of mind. Just be ready to feel uncomfortable in this class. I apologize in advance. You will feel uncomfortable, not because I want to make you feel uncomfortable, because I want public humiliation. It's because I think that's how you're going to learn. And that's why I'm going to put you into a lot of fake it, make it position, hoping that this is how you accelerate your experience, accelerate your apprenticeship, okay? So some people totally are going to gig it and say, "Oh man, that was so cool," because every time there was something that was making me feel uncomfortable. And some people are going to hate it because they're going to say, there's too much diversity, there's too many things, it's hard to make connection between all of this. I need something much more structured. I need something much more watered down, essentially. So I won't do this because I want you to sort of accelerate in your position of being a marketer. Some of you are already probably doing some marketing, and some of you have already a belief that you know about marketing, and that's also sort of a danger. You don't learn as much when you think you already know. You learn much more when you're open-minded and you don't think that you know. So for example, I have some students sometimes, they are, from the first day, they are like a turtle. They put themselves in the body, and they shield themselves in there and says, let's get it over with, because I already know everything that I need to know. And so that position makes it very difficult, because they're never going to embrace the opportunity to feel uncomfortable. And so sometimes older students are the best. Why are older students the best to teach, do you think?
Maybe they're more open to something different.
Actually, it's the opposite. Older students are less open to something different. And that's why Google doesn't like to hire old people, and Facebook doesn't like to hire old people. It's not just me. They've done research with millions of people. The older you are, the more you're entrenched on your opinion, and you already know, and you don't want to change, and you have beliefs, and you're set. Younger people are not as set. Therefore, they're more open-minded to new things. And that's why if you look at Apple, and they tell you how they were successful, is because they were all young. They were all like 21 years old when they started the company. So they didn't know there was anything impossible. They thought everything was possible. That's how young people think. So which one is better to teach? Young people or old people? There's pros and cons on each side. So for example, right now, maybe half of you, or maybe 3/4 of you think I'm out of subject, but I'm not. There's nothing I can do if you think I'm out of subject. I'm trying to convince you that I'm not out. But why is it easier, or why is it harder to teach old people? What's the difference between young people and old people? And that's basic marketing, because when you do marketing, you sell to people, and therefore you need to understand the difference between men, women, older, richer, poor. It's part of being in marketing. Stereotyping in marketing is number one. Not everybody is the same, and therefore you need to sell to someone that you know very well. So now, what's teaching? Talking to old people. What's better? What's not so good? So not the open mind, they're actually more closed-minded. So what's better, therefore? Wisdom, someone says. What do you mean by wisdom? That was Ben.
I guess I mean like people who are older, they have some more experience with learning probably than younger people. So they might be able to know themselves better to be able to learn. That makes sense.
So that would be very good if it was true. It could be. It's like this thing about older people have had to learn more, therefore they have more experience, and therefore when it comes to learning, they have the experience of learning, and therefore they learn better. Yeah, but you see, the problem is as they get older, they get more convinced of their belief, and therefore they are more close-minded. So unfortunately, yes, they should be better at learning. I mean, there's even research that shows that people, when they get out of the university, suddenly their capacity of learning goes down. So most people get out of the university, they're like 23 years old, and there's a downhill at 23 years old. And that's kind of sad. In fact, if you go on YouTube and you search as why do people get old, and you'll find those professors from top university that will tell you that people get old because they start thinking out of the box, and their vision of how his life is becoming more and more narrow. And you age much faster inside your brain on how you think that actually physically. So that's kind of sad, as people are getting more and more narrow-minded as they get older. The beauty with people that are older, when you teach them, is they have more experience, and therefore they can relate more to the points that you're making. So for example, I'm going to be making points on distribution. What is distribution? And I'm going to talk about the fact that there's a bargaining power in distribution. And then I go in bargaining power and I explain the deal between the buyer, the seller, the retailer, the wholesaler, the brokers. And then you have to find good brokers, but it's difficult to find good brokers because the good brokers, and I go into this, and suddenly I have the old people that go, whoa, professor, what you're saying made me realize that this is something I've been doing for the past 20 years. And finally, I just got it. You're absolutely right. But you see, they've done it for 20 years, and they've been doing something intuitively, and they don't really know if they're right or wrong. They were just doing it. They were just surviving doing it. Then I do a class on this, and then they see the class, and they can relate to the class when I'm explaining this. They can understand my examples, and then they go, that's it. it all makes sense. It all came together to me because I've been doing this for 10 years or 20 years. Now it came out to me. They've been doing someone that's been doing some professional things for 20 years. They're not 20 years old. They're 40 years old. So they get the points, they get the argument. The younger people don't totally get the argument. They just sort of memorize the processes. They see what you're trying to say and they want like a recipe. 1 is this, 2 is this, 3 is this, 4 is this. In business, it's very difficult to have something that is linear because business is chaos. Business is surviving in this chaos where there's nothing exactly the same. It keeps changing. People, you know why people buy books of Elon Musk? They buy books of Elon Musk because they want to try to do what Elon Musk did. And then they buy the book and nobody does what Elon Musk did because that was Elon Musk and it was within a specific situation. It cannot be replicated. This is not like, you know, learning how to play guitar and play a song and you buy a scale and then you play the Beatles and replicate. No, you can't replicate what Elon Musk has done. It's just Elon Musk in a situation. So business is annoying for this. So in some way, you could think about what I'm just saying right now, which is that therefore, are you going to teach us that can be not replicated? So what's the point of you teaching us anything if it cannot be replicated? Well, I mean, that's a little bit of a stretch. I'm not saying that. There's concepts that you need to understand. And then you need to understand to evaluate the situation and based on the situation, know how much of the concept that you can use and then how much variation of the concept that you can use. You know, it's a little bit like medicine treating a disease that you know versus medicine treating a disease that you don't know. If you're a good doctor, you still know how to treat a disease that you don't know because you have a set of knowledge that allows you to diagnose the new situation and come up with the best way of dealing with it. So that's the same with a business person, the everyday things you know to deal with it, but the new things suddenly you have to adapt. Okay, so now young people, the beauty is they believe everything you say because they work from a role perspective. You're the professor, that's your role, and I'm the student, that's my role, and therefore I believe everything that you say because I have no evidence, no experience, and therefore everything seems to be okay. And so that's very interesting to understand that. Why am I telling you this? It's like, my God, this professor is so out of subject. It's a backstory that has nothing to do with anything. Yes, it has to do. How does it connect? It connects because when you're in marketing, and you will see in entrepreneurship, it's even more true, is for the most part, you should not be doing what you want. For the most part, you should be doing what they want, what the consumer wants. Therefore, it is very important in marketing to be like a sociologist, meaning understanding the society, a psychologist, understanding how people think. You have to be the person that can put yourself in someone else's shoes as best as you can. So it's very, very important to understand that this is critical. You don't do what you want, you do what they want. So I give you examples of things that I did within this cohort. This was what? I don't know, 8 years ago. I remember this class and I told them, hey, any one of you guys wants to go to Coachella? And then the student says, Coachella? What's Coachella? I was the one telling them what was Coachella. And I told them there was a big festival and it was really cool. The year after, I went and asked the same thing. Anyone wants to go to Coachella? Well, yeah, maybe I'll go, but it's no big deal. You know, maybe I don't go. Then the year after, oh, anyone wants to go to Coachella? And then it's like, yeah, we all want to go, but it's expensive. And I was like, wow, how interesting. In 3 years' time, I went from the students asking me what was Coachella, and then looking at me, it's like, these professors really don't know anything, to suddenly telling me we all want to go. But the same thing with TikTok. I remember like 4 years ago, I was telling the students, you know, you should be using TikTok, or you're probably using Instagram. And I had to explain what the heck was TikTok. I'm not kidding you. This was 4 years ago. I was explaining the MIA students what was TikTok. 6 or 7 years ago, I was explaining them what was Coachella. So that's what I mean, is you have to be sort of looking outside. So last year at this time, you know what I was explaining to the students? NFTs. At this exact time last year, I brought NFTs, discussion of NFTs in the music industry. And you know what the students told me a year ago when I told them about NFTs? Boring. We should be talking about something else. Boring. Boring. So this semester, actually, I don't know what I'm going to tell you that you're going to say it's boring yet, but it's like this every time. I've done it 9 years in a row, telling the students well in advance of some major trends and all this. So now it's been a while. I know the students, they talk. I have a little bit of a reputation, so maybe you're going to go, this so-and-so told me, so forth. Maybe I'll pay attention. So it's been great. Students have sort of passed the word and listened to me and so forth, more and more. So because that's my job. When you're in marketing, you're like a sponge. When you're in marketing, you're someone who's looking for trends. You're not looking for fire, you're looking for smoke. Constant looking for smoke. And then you develop even a better thing is you're looking for heat. You've got a heat detection. So then when there's smoke, you already know of it before. And then when there's fire, it's gone, okay? And everybody rush for it. So it's very, very important that you develop the skills. And now you're gonna wonder, why is he talking about this? Where I'm so confused with this professor. Because that's what you're gonna have to do for Nishwaki. You're gonna have to look for some smoke. Some smoke in the market. You're gonna have to look for some changes in the market. And it's gonna have to come from you. It's not gonna come by taking a shower and having a shower moment. You're in the shower, you're in fantasy land, you're daydreaming, and then suddenly you have this brilliant idea for Nishwaki. It's gonna come from doing research, and it's gonna come from doing research and also developing your instinct. Your instinct for like a sense of that you see something. Have I seen this in most cohort every year? Yes. And it's so exciting. To me, that's the most exciting things. And that's the thing that the students get to experience as well, is we're gonna have several team meetings, and then we're gonna talk, and there's gonna be some team, I'm gonna come, and they're gonna say, Professor, we have no idea. We are confused as heck. We still don't know we haven't seen any smoke. We're looking for smoke, we see nothing. I think the Nishwaki should have a Facebook account, boring. I think Nishwaki should have a TikTok account, everybody knows, boring. I think Nishwaki should have more videos. I haven't done any research on Nishwaki. I can tell you, it probably needs all of that. That's the things that everybody can figure out, but you're gonna have to go beyond that. And that's what's exciting, and that's what's gonna make you uncomfortable, is you're gonna have to come up with a solution which is not the boilerplate solution. And it's not going to be, and then that's the next thing it's going to take a while for you to understand it. It's going to be a solution that is strategic, because the ideas, the plan that you're going to have for Nishwaki is not for the next year. It's for the next 3, 4, 5 years. So you're going to have to envision the future of the artist. And this envision is going to come from a strategic envision. So now, when you present the clients, the case study, right? Let's go back very quickly to the canvas. When we go back here, is you presenting Madus, you're presenting the Forbidden Bands, Alex Ritchie, Hardcore. When you're presenting this past client, is you can't look at this presentation from a superficial view, which is that you're going to see that they make some recommendation of having more TikTok, for sure. But that's a detail. You're going to have to really understand what's the big picture of the message that they're giving to the artist. And so that's what's very interesting, is to understand the big picture. Yes.
Sorry, we are seeing, I think it's your email, Rackspace.
Oh, you see my email? Okay. So that's interesting.
Nothing confidential, though.
Okay, I hope so. Well, it's, I think I have nothing too crazy. Okay, so why would that be? So I'm on this. Thank you for letting me know. Oh yes, there it is. I clicked on the wrong space. Okay, So these clients, and so that's the message. I'm trying to be better. I mean, to me, it's another thing that I have is every day, if I can be better than the previous day, that's wonderful. So even in teaching, you know, I want you to really understand the exercise. The exercise is sort of making it using past projects. But in this past projects is you don't want to just act it, is you want to understand the essence of what the students said that the client should be changing, number one. Number two is I think you want to have the curiosity to look at other projects beside the one that you will be presenting. Maybe not in super depth, you'll be working in depth on your project, more obviously than the other one. And also, you know that I will not I will be grading you very fair. You should not go in this thinking it's going to be, you know, really difficult. It is, because you have to get to the essence, and usually that's what happens. The first group, the second group, maybe the third group don't get to the essence of it, understanding what's the real problem that needs to be solved. But I know it is difficult, so I'm fair in the grading. I know, because the students can tell that they're struggling with this, and sometimes they have a feeling like, man, we're struggling so much. I think we don't know what we're doing. But that is normal. If you look at the point system. So let me go back to let's jump quickly to the point system, so that way you can see. The point system are small, meaning it's 7%. So I know the assignments that are necessary, that are very helpful in order to better prepare you for the client project. The client project is 45%. So it's almost like I have a hat, which is the coach hat, that wants you to succeed, like your sport coach. Your sport coach is the one that wants you to win. But I have to push you in order for you to be the best you can be. So then I give you some assignments that are pushing you, that are difficult, but they are putting you in an uncomfortable position. So that way, when you get to do the 45%, you're in much better position. However, because I'm your coach, so I'm on your side, I made the earlier assignments as very low weight. And for the most part, I'm really, I'm easy grader, if you want, on these. So I want you to know this, but I don't want you to misinterpret me in the sense that, you know, I'm going to give you the 7% no matter what. That's not what I'm trying to say. But I don't want you to sweat and feel like you're failing. If I was not giving any grades on these, people don't take them seriously. So I have to give something that is graded. But at the same time, I'm not grading hard. Do you have any questions? So how can you do well with this is get to look at your team and what your team is supposed to do as quickly as possible. So how do you do this? It's pretty simple. You go to the end of the syllabus. And at the end of the syllabus, you have the schedule. And then you see today, first class, then this Saturday is we have Nishwaki. In that situation, what's important is for you to, as much as possible, is to prepare some questions. So I would like you to and I already sent you an email asking you to do that. Hopefully, maybe you have started already, is to collect some information about Nishwaki and get ready for being able to ask questions. So he comes and he feels welcome and you feel like you have you have studied. Yes, Lamia.
I was just wondering if maybe like tonight you're going to talk about how we should think about preparing questions for him, like what kind of things we should be focusing on rather than just saying like random things.
Oh, no, yeah, you don't want. What I would do is that, you know, if you Google search, once you do the Google search, you will see his videos.
No, I understand doing, I'm sorry, I understand doing research on the client, but like focusing questions based on like the class material, does that make sense? Like I'd rather keep the framework of the class and what we're doing in mind when coming up with questions rather than just, I don't know, being nonsensical with questions, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, maybe you're thinking. So,
am I overthinking it?
Yeah, you're overthinking it, because essentially
All right.
the first meeting, what you want to do. So I tell you what's the first meeting and what's important. So thank you for your question, because otherwise I don't know what you're thinking. I don't hear you. The key, what everybody struggles, MIA after MIA, and I think it's project after project, is that you don't want to, at the end, to tell Nishwaki to do things that he doesn't care for, you know. So you want to, you know, it's like, imagine you're going to design, I don't know, I use an analogy, hopefully that helps you. It's like, imagine you're a fashion designer and you have to create clothes for the client. You really want to understand what's their favorite color. You really want to understand what's their size. You really want to understand if they have an affinity for a celebrity, for a movie, for a style, for a culture, for a country, for an era, the 80s, the 90s. So you want as much as possible, and you know, that's when it goes very well. And every time it goes very well, but it doesn't go very well right away, because the client comes and the client is shy. He's got all of these people looking at them, and he's like, man, is this good? You know, and maybe the client doesn't want to say much. So it's a question of making the client feel comfortable, that we're there for them, and that we're not going to be judgmental in the sense that what they're doing is right, what they're doing is not right, you know. And so, and I don't want to talk about the past client right now, because that's part of the class. I don't want to tell you, oh, you see an example is electricity, blah, 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 because I want you to discover what was the essence. You know, what was really cool with all of these clients is they were doing something, but deep in their gut, deep in their soul, there was something that they really wanted to do, but they were not doing it. And it's from talking to them that suddenly we discovered, gee, this person, what they really want to do is X, Y, and Z, but they're not doing it. And then the students went to check X, Y, and Z, and they found that there was a market. They found that there was a target. They found that there was people that's also what they wanted. And this client would be perfect. This artist would be perfect to express that emotion. But that was an emotion that was inside the client. So ARPcore is like this. ARPcore is fascinating. It's another client. One group's going to have ARPcore. They are very successful artists in Europe that came to America, super unknown in America, but super famous in Europe. And so they had to start from zero here. But what they were doing in Europe was not applicable at all in America. And the reason they came to America, that was deep inside, but when they were in America, they were still doing stuff like they were doing in Europe. And so by discussing with them, suddenly we discovered, oh, that's what they want. That's what they should do. So it's always about this. So it's a question of almost, it's like we are going to be in some way the psycho-analyzing these people and trying to go into their brain, trying to understand who they really are. You know, Tyreek Taylor is a young man, you know, and therefore it's somewhat hard, I think, sometimes, because there's not a lot of past history. And therefore it's all new, but it still has a story. It comes from overseas. It comes from a small island. I think it's Saint-Domingue. No, yeah, a small island. And so he has this culture. He has a family. He has his own story. And people relate to this. I mean, remember we're talking about fake it, make it. I think for an artist, maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's wrong to fake being someone that you're not. I think for an artist, you should be really who you are and not pretend to be someone else. I know there's a lot of artists that have pretended to be someone else and they were very successful, but it doesn't last. I think it's better to be yourself. And so it's our role as marketing consultant is to look at this client. And that's why I think you should take a random, or maybe not random, you take the client that you will present and look at this presentation. Presentation is like 20 minutes. You look at the presentation, you read the PowerPoint, and from this, you get inspired and say, now that I've seen this, how would I go about asking questions? You prepare questions. On the other hand, there may be questions that comes when he comes and we discuss, and also hearing other groups, other person asking questions. Then you start thinking about something. At the end of the day, is you want to squeeze information out of this interview as much as possible. He's going to come back at the beginning of March. Why do you think he's going to come back at the beginning of March to do another interview? Why? Anyone?
To give us some time to brainstorm?
Yes, because you need to brainstorm. And usually what happens is at the end of February, the teams have like 3 directions. We think it should be blue, or maybe green, or maybe purple. But we think it's probably purple or green. That's what he should do. But the best way is not to ask him again, to sort of not ask him, do you want to be green or do you want to be blue? Because he doesn't know that. But to ask him another set of questions, now that we are much more knowledgeable, in order to be more precise and sort of make a tailored suit, a suit that is perfect for the client, a tailored suit. So at this time, you know the color of the suit, you know somewhat the size, you know the design of the suit, you have some style issue, but is the neck big, is the neck small? There's a few things you're not totally sure. So that's what this second meeting is going to be about. This is very important. Is this realistic? Very realistic. The reality is most of the time you would meet the client more than 2 times. But why do we do these 2 meetings? Because that's the minimum that you need. And we separate them by a month. That way you have a month to study. You have a month to come up with big directions, big ideas. You will present these to me because there's a fake it, make it presentation as well that is scheduled, where we will meet and it will be just you and I, your group, and I will be sitting as if it's the last day. And you'll pretend that you're presenting. Are these rough? They're very rough. Are the team uncomfortable? Very uncomfortable, but it doesn't matter. It's the process of making it better. It's the process of learning. It's the process of being a consultant. It's the process of learning marketing. Do people know about that? Not everybody knows. 50% of the students are going to think this is right, I learned a lot, and 50% are going to say, I didn't understand why we were doing so many meetings and repetition and all that, because that's how you make it better. That's how you confront and come up with ideas, right? And so, the truth is prepare as much as you can with your group. That way you exhaust information out of the client as much as possible. So that way we know more or less which direction we should go, and we have some background. This presentation will be recorded, then I will be posting it, so that way everybody has access. And you can review it. Because here's another thing that's very interesting in these meetings, and I tell you now because I've done more than several hundreds on this, is it's also very interesting to read the behavior from the client. It's not in class, but it doesn't matter. You can read people's behavior, their facial expressions, the silence, the amount, the intensity of the thinking that they have when they answer the question. All of this is very important in order to gauge this client. And I already told Tariq, I said, you know, it's important for us, for you to be honest with us. And it's important for us that you be yourself. There may be questions that are very personal. It's not because we are nosy and all this. It's because we want to really understand who you are. We want to go deep. So don't feel overwhelmed by the question being, there's going to be lots of people in there because there's 5 teams competing to give you the best direction. So that's why a lot of people, you know, the class is too short. The best way would be to do 5 teams, 5 meetings. You know, we don't have the time for this. So it has to be all together. And so we're working with what we have. And so I just prepare the clients for this. That's the reason why when we do the second meeting, we do it together again, because we can't have 5 meetings again to meet with the client. The client doesn't have time, you don't have time, it's too complicated. So we put it together like this. It's nothing too complicated. So I keep moving on so you can see. Then that's what happens is this. So the 2nd of February, which is going to come pretty quick, is we have the first pretend being the consultant of matters. So whoever is going to be team 1, which I will do a random designation. I don't know who they are. It's going to be random. Will be presenting matters as if you understand me, as if they were the one. I mean, this was in 2020, matters, the cohort 7, as if they were the one that did matters, that they met this person, that they, matters is actually a really good, it's a band this time. So they were several artists together with one lead artist who is a singer. And it was very difficult. Why was it difficult? It was difficult because it's a rock and roll band. And the possibilities, the opportunities for rock and roll bands are not as good now as they used to be back then, right? The world's changed. And so therefore we had to be very specific. So that group who's going to come is going to have to pretend to put it together. So I gave you the presentation, so you don't have to spend a lot of time. So the question I usually get is, can we use 100% of these people presentation? The answer is yes. Can we modify this presentation to our liking? The answer is yes. Right? So it's just, can we come up with a different argument? Can we disagree even with what these people are recommending matters to do? Absolutely, you can. Do people disagree a lot? No, that is rare. People usually sort of kind of embrace what that group, the main idea of that group was. It's pretty good. It was good. So they embrace it and they just convey it. And they understand. And they just use the marketing term like they see these people do and all that. Fake it, make it. And you learn from that exercise. Then there's another exercise that would be done by the team 5, which is I give you a concept this time. So it's not a client to review, but it's a concept. And this concept is very much of a philosophical concept, because I want you to be critical thinkers, thinking outside of the box. So this group, and that's not too difficult. And last year, there was 3 groups. I mean, they were like, this was like TV quality. You could have sold their presentation. It was so good. This was sellable. They totally loved doing this concept. The epistemology team 5, they killed it. Then the next 2 or 3 projects, it was like, wow. I mean, I was blown away. They totally embraced it. And they came at the end and they told me that this was the best class they ever had in their history as a student because of the concept. And I was like, hallelujah. These concepts are concepts that you don't see all the time, but when you're going to study them, you're going to realize how important in your everyday life it is. Very important in your everyday life. So it's to open your eyes and think, I would say, as a better person. epistemology is a very important concept that if I was to ask you right now, nobody knows. But the people who are going to study that are going to go, wow, that's so important to understand the concept of epistemology. Then on that Saturday, so this class is as asynchronous. There's only one that is asynchronous because I gave you a video to watch. All the video I give you to watch are not required, but one. So if you look on the right side, it looks like there's a lot of work because I give you a lot of videos, but there's only one that I ask you to watch. It's the one from that day, the Requiem for American Dream. That's the only one. But every week I give you some video because I think they're very good videos. And if you take the time to look at them, you're going to really enjoy them. They're not long. Most of them are 15, 20 minutes. The one from the Requiem for the American Dream is really long. I think it's an hour and a half or something like this. An hour and a half, but remember, this is a 4-hour class on Saturday. So this is just an hour and a half video. And if you like me, I can put it at 125 or 150, and I can knock videos pretty quickly, but that's just me, maybe you can't do that. This video is a video that you're going to think I'm crazy when you see this video. And the first 20 minutes, you're going to call each other and you're going to say, this professor is crazy. This is so politically incorrect. But then, because you have to do the down exercise, because it's graded, that one is graded, you have to do an essay. You're going to find out once you finish the video that not only this was a really good video, you're going to be so uncomfortable. You're going to shake for 30 minutes after this video. And then what's going to be interesting, you're going to go, who the heck is Noam Chomsky that he forced us to watch the video? And then you're going to find out that this guy is probably the most famous person. Anyone knows Noam Chomsky here? Who knows Noam Chomsky? Yes? Okay, good. So some of you know him. Okay. He's amazing. He's one of the most famous intellectual that's still alive of the old school guy. It's like Freud. It's like me telling you to watch a video of Freud, you know. It's just fantastic. So he's super famous. It's very hard to know if he's has a religion, no religion. If he's Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. I think what's great about this person is has no affiliation. His affiliation is make human being better, human being, I think. And so what's interesting about this is it has to do more about business than it has to do about marketing, this video. However, it has a huge component of marketing that I'm not going to spend a lot of time because there's so much we have to cover, but it's called marketing ethics. Marketing is very powerful. Marketing is very manipulative. You could be convincing people that, I don't know, sugar is good and they eat sugar. And then you could convince them that sugar is bad and they eat diet. And then you could convince them that diet is bad and make them go back eat sugar. I mean, marketing can do that. So essentially, that's the concept behind this video in terms of marketing and business, is you really unveil a lot of the power behind the business structure and the economies and the world that we live in, where, we have a responsibility in in the decision that we make and the business that we run. So it's my business ethics, marketing ethics input, because I think I don't want you to, it's like, I don't want to teach you martial arts if you use it to kill people. I want to teach you martial arts to defend yourself and to defend the innocent and weak. So it's the same thing. I want to teach you marketing not to become rich and abuse people, but so that way you understand what marketing is done and it can be used for good things as well. Anyway, I don't know if you understood my analogy, but okay. So then the following week, you see it's a different concept, a different team that presents. So there's 5 teams And then what I did is I tried to have the team not work on too many presentations at the same time. So they are like opposites in the sense that it's 5 on 1, and then it's 4 and 3. And therefore, I try to do this, and I try to make no presentation and no work on the day of the quiz. Students don't appreciate that I do that, but I did that because I know when there's a quiz, you should focus on the quiz and getting as good as you can for the quiz and nothing else. You know, so that's the thing. Another thing is I've increased the quiz. The quiz used to be 1 hour and 15 minutes, but I decided to not change them, but I'm giving you an extra 15 minutes this semester for the quiz. Okay, so it's going to be more time, 15 more minutes. I think that way you just have extra minutes. There's no big deal not to give you those extra 15 minutes. So I thought I may as well give it to you. So it's again, because I want you to do well. There's no reason you can't do well. Those extra 15 minutes, you know, you are doing Zoom. You should get an A on those quizzes, to be honest. You'll have the material with you. A lot of people get A's, and there's some people that don't get A's. I don't know why. Like 50% get A's, 50% don't get A's. But I guess 50% worked harder, and I don't know. So there's no reason to. Then on the Saturday, so this is a different fake it till you make it. Because this time I am not giving you music artist to work on. Because that's another thing that the students told me that they really like in this class. But it's funny because they tell me this after they graduate. Like 1, 2, 3, 5 years on LinkedIn. They come back and they send me a message. Hey, professor, can you write me a recommendation letter? I was in your class and I was an A student. I did this on this project. Remember me? And I learned so much in your class that I used in other things than the music industry. And that's why I got promoted. I mean, that's what happened to Robert Teagarden or Brian McKenzie. Brian McKenzie, after graduating, he went to work as a marketing director of Ticketmaster. And so this is funny because you inspire me to work in marketing. And the fact that I love the music industry, this was just a specialty that I had. I didn't think I needed to work in the music industry and use the marketing that it taught me, but I saw it the other way. Is I learned about marketing and I could use my musical inclination in order to work. And he said, that was so brilliant. That's like became my motto now, is marketing and the music industry. Not I got to be in the music industry and do something that has to do with business. A lot of people are upset when I say that, but that's what Robert told me. That's what Brian told me. That's what the other people is. To me, what's very important is that you understand that your skills are in the music industry and they are so valuable. And then if you go in the business industry and you use your music knowledge, you become the rock star, in fact, of most businesses anyway. So I want to cultivate this. So I give you one project. The Matador farm was for CSUN, creating a farm inside CSUN. So something totally different. The students that did this project absolutely loved it, and the client was thrilled. The students killed it, totally killed it. This is almost like a fake presentation that you're getting because it's so perfect. You know, this was a Cinderella story, the Matador Farms. The client was in heaven. So you're just gonna have to retranslate that to me. So we will meet from 8:30 to 9:15. You'll present to me, and I want to see if you understand what was the story, the Cinderella story, and how you found what's called the opportunity. Every business foundation is based on an opportunity, and you have to find it. So for the next 4 weeks, that's what you're going to work on, finding opportunities. Very difficult. You're going to struggle you're going to go crazy trying to find opportunities, but that's what's really cool. The Valley Hive, guess what the Valley Hive do? Is they sell honey. It's the biggest honey maker in Los Angeles. And there's like 25 honey maker, and the Valley Hive is in Burbank, I think, or somewhere there. And it's a company, it's been there 30 years. And we did a project for them. You will see in the video, whoever group is going to get that. At the end of the video, the owner of the Valley Hive says, I'm blown away. This is so good. I'm falling off my chair. You've made this presentation is fantastic. Okay, so these are two projects I just finished in December, and we killed it. The client, both clients were falling off their chair. So you're going to present that. Fake it, make it. This time, because why do you have to do that? And that's what I want you to understand, and that's why it's some of you are maybe upset right now. Is because I want you to understand that in business, to succeed is you cannot do what has been done. You have to do something that is new and better. And the job of a marketing person is to make it better for the people that you're making it better for. So I want you to put yourself in the shoe of someone that's driving innovation. So these projects are already done. You just have to understand them, and you just have to pretend to present it to me. So you would have done two by then. When we are on the 12th of February, there is no possibility that by the Sunday, the 13th of February, that there's one person that comes to me and say, I do not understand. It's impossible. I do not understand what we're supposed to do. Because you would have done, not all of you, because there's still some client case after that. But I think it become pretty clear to most of you what you're supposed to do. But I cannot teach you this by asking you to read an article. I cannot teach you this by asking you to watch a video. I cannot teach you this by giving you a quiz. I can only teach you this by having you doing it. I don't know if you understand. It's by doing that you will learn. Trying very hard to make this very clear. And then there's the quiz. So again, the quiz, 90 minutes instead of 75, 15 extra minutes this semester. It's on Wednesday the 16th. I mean, it's open book, open everything. You can. I've done these questions. I've tested them hundreds and hundreds of times. There's no confusion, and it's just a question of understanding. So in marketing, there's a lot of new words maybe. Okay, so then what follows this is then we have a group meeting, but this time it's the first one where, so on the 19th of February, it's presenting what you think is what the client should do. So this is sort of the moment of truth, because before that, most of you have been presenting other clients. You've done the fake it, make it. You've seen other team presenting in front of the class, faking it as well, and you can see if they're good at faking it. And on that day, and that's why you need to start on it now. On that day, you create your own PowerPoint, and you come and then you present as if it's the 18th of March, the Wednesday, the 18th of March. So that's like about a month before that. And let's be honest, is it rough? Very rough. You're not graded. I didn't mention that, but you're not graded for this. This one, you're not graded. Why you're not graded is because I don't want you to be stressed from being graded. I'm not judging you. I'm the coach. I'm only making sure that I can give you feedback on all this so you do better and that you're preparing yourself. Simple. So you're not graded. You don't have to be, sweating on that one. And, and then the 23rd is we have a class, and then we have, again, the clients, and then we're presenting on Bernese. The students, they loved it last time. It was so good. And then The 2nd of March, same thing, class and presentation. And then the 5th of March, this is when Tariq comes back. And this is just about 10 days before you present to him. So this will be the opportunity to see that if what you're planning to do makes sense, because you'll know more about the market. So that one, the students have more questions. Just let's be honest, every time this one, the students have a lot of questions, more than on the first one, which makes sense. And I think that goes with what Lamia was mentioning before, is how do we prepare? It's not that easy to prepare for the first one, but I can tell you the interview, the second interview is 10 times better than the first, because people know what they're talking about. And it's very important. And then we have essentially the last class, then we have the quiz, and then this is the Saturday before the presentation with the client. So we'll do a last opportunity to present in front of me. And then you present in front of me. And this one is that one is the one, maybe the students are stressed, but I'm stressed on that one. It's funny because the presentation of the Wednesday night 18 are always really good. This class it's a joy. And we have guests coming. We have guests from the previous MIA. People from the previous MIA want to come to see the new cohort. So we have people from all kinds of different cohorts that want to come because they had fun doing this and they want to see what you're doing. And that usually works very well. On the 18th of March, usually people are so proud and ready, they're good to go. But that Saturday, that's when I'm nervous because it's the Saturday just before and it's still very patchy, still a little rough. And wow, that's the one I worry. So that's why we will meet again and then you will present. That would be your last rehearsal, okay? So, sorry, I took a long time to show you this, but I want to make sure that you understand. There's nothing that should stress you because everything is staged in a way that it's incremental, that you're learning more and more, you're feeling more prepared. And this feeling of being uncomfortable goes away because you getting to understand what you're supposed to do more clearly as you're doing it, right? So as you're doing it, you're more comfortable. As you're doing it, what you need to do inside the assignment is becoming more clear. But essentially, the name of what you're going to do for the next 3 weeks, it's called a SWOT, a SWOT analysis. Look at the syllabus. I think you want to organize yourself, and I don't think it's too complicated. But the number one thing is make sure you have a group. So I have not seen a group for class. Okay, so excellent. There's one group that sent me their list of names. Yeah, you're excited to start working in this class. That's what you're saying. That's very good. I'm excited too. I can't wait to see how you're gonna, it's exciting for me too, because I don't know what to do for the clients. What is it that they need? Who are they? And it's so difficult. I mean, for an artist to come through with the amount of competition and the situation in the music industry and all that. So we're gonna have to really think outside of the box every time that we have a station with a new artist like that. It's not easy. But I've listened to his music and I think he's got nice music. Have you listened to his music already? No, not yet. Okay, so I think it's pleasant, and I think he's got some talents. Obviously, you don't know, but it was so. Let me tell you the way it works. Is the music department has an undergraduate program, and this undergraduate program has a label or a publisher and a structure which is made of voluntary students to actually promote musicians. And for many years, maybe more than 10 years, It's called VOVE, V-O-V-E. VOVE is the name of that group, which is made of CISN students. It's like a student club, has been voting for the best music artist of the year. And so Nishwaki actually won the best artist of the year. And so the undergraduate students, what they do is they manage the day-to-day thing for the artists from January to July sort of things, telling them what they need, what the artist needs to do. But it's very much the day-to-day, it's the details. It's not the big picture. It's not the strategy. It's not the long-term, what the artist should be doing. This is our job. So we take the job of the long-term direction for the artist, and they take the very short-term launch of the artist. So on Saturday, the several members of the VOVE group will be coming to the meeting as well, to essentially hear Tariq speak, but also see what kind of questions that you have. Let me tell you the truth. The undergraduate students are always kind of curious to see how postgraduates are, and they wonder if they're smarter, you know, and they want to see if you sound smarter, if you act smarter. So it's kind of, I'm just being honest. They're curious to see if there's really anything that we can do. Now, what happens is they also come back on, they will come back on the Wednesday, the 18th, while you will be making the presentation. And every time it's a big shock for them. It's like, oh, wow, yeah. Their presentation is something else, you know, they're blown away because they can see that this is a lot of work. There's a lot of thinking that happens, a lot of research that happens in order to give a recommendation for an artist for the next 2, 3, 5 years. So they're not doing they don't have the education, they don't have the support, they don't have the experience in order to have this long-term vision, which you will have. And so there is a good complementarity between what VOVE does and that what we do as the MIA09 for this artist. So this artist is really lucky because he's got all of these people around that are essentially all they want is just to help the artist, all right? So that way you understand the role. And this is organized by Professor Surmani and also by a professor called Jeff Izzo. Maybe you've heard of this professor. And so these are the two professors that steer this. And I therefore take care of the consulting with you. All right. Do you have any questions? Because maybe you have time to think about something during the short break. No? Okay, very good. So hopefully you are not too intimidated by the schedule. I mean, you know, it's a short time, so there's a lot of things that we need to do. But the lot of things that we will do is essentially putting you in the driver's seat. That's what I'm trying to do. Putting you in the position where you have to sort of act and play the activities and figure out yourself. The exercise that you're doing here is for an existing client. What's interesting is the next class is one step above, you know, the entrepreneurship class, the last class, because this time is we have no clients for you, is you have to invent the business. That's why it's a lot more work to invent a business that doesn't exist than to take care of one that exists. That's why it's good that you do this before you do create one, because in the next one, you're gonna have the same amount of time. You're gonna have to do this essentially the same thing, sort of a repetition, but the difference is I have nothing to tell you to do. Is you tell me what is the business. So you have to invent everything. That's why you have this class is really preparing you to do the next one. And the next one, you're going to go much faster because you know what's an opportunity, you know how to jump into making your presentation. You've faked it enough, but you can fake it more essentially in the next one. And so they're very connected. So what I want to do very quick is introduce myself. I haven't done it very well. I'm essentially born in France. I grew up in the French Riviera. So the French Riviera, just to look at a map, it's on the Mediterranean, just southeast of France by the Italian border. I grew up there. I was having a good time there. It's nice. South of France is pretty nice. I'm sure since you work in the music industry, you've heard of the Midem Cannes Festival, which is a very neat festival for the music and all that. So someday you probably will end up there. It's a nice place. Now, what did I study? So I studied two bachelors, a bachelor of marketing, a bachelor of business. I was studying two bachelors in two different universities. I was worried to fail in one bachelor, so I said, I'm going to do two. So if I do two, probably I'll get one. Eventually, I got two. From this, then I did a graduate diploma in international marketing. And really, I don't know if I'm good at anything else than marketing. But so I just did international marketing. So I went in Switzerland, then I went in Zurich. I did more research in Switzerland. After this, I kept winning prizes and scholarship. I was not a good student before going to the university, but there I was like a top student. I said, okay, I can keep working on this. So I went to Scotland. I did a master in marketing, sort of what you're doing right now. And there I won, I was essentially the best student in the class. So I got a scholarship and I did a PhD in University of Sydney in Australia. So when I was in Australia, I had to write a long thesis of 300 and some pages. So I was like, what am I going to write? I don't know how to write. It's crazy. I can't do that. And so I wrote this thesis, and then I won a best thesis, and I won a prize, and I ended up in Paris at Louis Vuitton Wet Hennessy share LVMH, where they took me as their main consultant. So I was 20. Where was I? I was 25 or 26. I was the main consultant of Louis Vuitton Wet Hennessy, managing 25 brands. Fake it till you make it. I really didn't know what I was doing. Actually, this is recorded, but it's okay. I really didn't know what I was doing. They thought I knew. I'm glad that they thought, because I didn't. And I was trying to do my best. And eventually, by sort of doing it, I sort of became pretty good, I guess. And then I went to California. And here I was a consultant, and I was a professor at CSUN. And so I have three hats. One hat is I teach marketing, I teach consumer behavior, entrepreneurship, and consulting. Another hat is I do research in luxury. So because I started in '93 when I did my master and then my PhD, actually, I am one of the most quoted on the subject of luxury branding in the world. Google puts me as I think, #1 in the world for Prada and Rolls-Royce and all the luxury stuff. So that's my specialty that I developed through the years. The reality is, I don't think maybe I'm that good. It's just I started a long time ago. People back in the '90s didn't care so much for luxury. It's kind of crazy. And so I was one of the first to write it in English. And then the internet came, and then people read the internet, read everything, and they quoted each other, and they sort of quoted me. So people, I think I'm really old because I started in '93, but I was in my early 20s when I started. Really, I was faking it like you have no idea. So I realized that you learn, and I think that Alexa was mentioning that you say it's anecdotal. No, it's not anecdotal. That's how you learn. You just put yourself in the driver's seat and you tell everybody that you can do it, and then you just grind your teeth and you just make it work. And I've had so many failures, but I've learned so much from my failures, which allowed me to learn and then to fix it. So for me, failing has never been the end of the game. It's been just a process. So I was also a consultant for the biggest consulting firms. So I don't know if you know PricewaterhouseCoopers, Arthur Andersen. So these are the major companies. They have hundreds of thousands of employees. And I was a senior consultant in this. And I was the same. I was a senior consultant at Arthur. So Arthur Andersen was the biggest consulting firm in the world by far. And I was a senior consultant. And I was 23 years old, senior consultant. So I was like several clicks. I was few clicks from being a partner. I really didn't know what I was doing. At least that's what I think, but that's not what they think, because I was pretending. I guess I had a good common sense, which sort of saves me. And that's sort of what I want to try to teach you. For some reason, every cohort gives me a name. you know, and the last cohort in 2021 is they were saying that I was Miyagi. I was Professor Miyagi. And that comes from Karate Kid or something. And so they were saying that I was the Miyagi professor. So that was the last name that I was given, because I try to make you think outside of the box. And, you know, I'm going to send you do wax on, wax off for a while. I don't know if you've seen the movie, maybe it makes no sense to you, but you're going to do wax on, wax off, and you're going to go, why is the professor making us go do wax on, wax off, wax on? And that's sort of what those exercises are, is you doing things that you may think have nothing to do with the end result, but it's essentially preparing you, like shaping you in order to get to the end result. So enough of me. I guess that's pretty good. I want best researcher of the decade. So, I mean, not too many professor, because there's not that many decades, you know. And so another one is I want best business book of the year. So that was in 2015. And this was the biggest competition. So it's like you could say there's a lot of books, a lot of competition. That was the biggest competition, and I won, and it was for Marketing Deluxe. So it was actually in French book. But I have another thing, which is I also run businesses. Eventually, I start thinking, you know, when you teach, you sort of fake it. When you consult, you sort of fake it. Maybe I should implement. So I bought myself a 200 years old distillery in south of France. And don't tell anybody, I knew nothing about distilling. But like when I say nothing, it's zero. And so I learned how to distill. And 3 years after, I won World Best Distiller. It's a true story. I won 3-time World Best Distiller since 2010. And so now I've hired all my parents, my dad, everybody in my family now is in France in the distillery making cognac. We've won best cognac maker and all this. And this is an article just that talks about me and my cognac, and the fact that I have some really cool story with the cognac that I'll share with you, not to brag about myself, but just to give you some personal notes. So in addition, I won top 50 innovators in the business industry for the spirits, which is rated by the Spirit Business Magazine. And at the same time, I won best undergraduate and best postgraduate teacher. So I tell you, to be the best innovator in the spirit industry and at the same time the best postgraduate teacher, it's not the same. It's not like one really helps the other, but it is. You know what's the connection between all of this? What's the connection? What's the common denominator? The common denominator is disruption. Is I don't think the same. Here's the exercise. Let's do the exercise very quick. So if you have, where is my thing? Oh, it's not here. Can you see my screen? You can see my screen, right?
Not right now.
Not right now, yeah. So sorry, it's this. I think that's important we do this right now. Yeah, here. Because that's, can you see this plane?
Yes.
You can see the plane. Okay, so imagine you are in a war situation and all the planes have sort of bullet holes in the same place, like this. And then you start plotting where the most common holes in the plane. And you are in charge of those planes, and you're in charge of taking care of your Air Force and your planes. What would you do next?
Reinforce those places.
Yes, you would reinforce those places. That would be one of the things. What else would you do?
fly in different places.
Yeah, different angle. Yeah. So then you notice all the plane that come, you look at the bullet hole, and you take all of this bullet hole, and then you make this map, and then you come back and you show it to your consultant. And you have 29 consultants that looks, and they look at this and say, you know what? We need to fix the places where the bullet holes. Guess what they did? What did you think they did? That's what they did. The English were doing this. The American were doing this. The German were doing this. Everybody was doing this. Until there's one engineer that came and says, that doesn't make sense. If these planes all come back with those holes, that means they could fly with those holes. The one that didn't come back are the one that got holes where these are not. It's like a negative, like you take a picture, old school, negative, the mirror image. So that engineer says, you're crazy. And I was an English engineer. And he looked at that, he says, no, we're gonna reinforce where there's no holes. Everybody told me it was crazy. And eventually they got it, and you get right. If they don't come back, that's probably because the other places need to be reinforced. And then they reinforced the other places. And then they had more planes coming back. So why do I say that? It's because in business, that way of thinking is very important. Is you don't want to think to do the same as what everybody else does. Usually that's not good. What you need to think is what is it that they're not doing, but that people want, but they are not saying. That's what people want. People want, I don't know. People want smartphone. You know, how successful were the smartphone when they started selling smartphone? They were not successful. Why were they not successful? Because people wanted to press on keys. They didn't want to press on a piece of glass. So when they make the smartphone, the piece of glass with the image behind, we're talking 2004, 2003, 2005, Apple could not give away a phone. They were giving them away. People didn't want them because people wanted to press on a keystone, on a BlackBerry. They loved their BlackBerry, but they didn't think the smartphone made any sense. They thought it was stupid, right? Because they wanted to touch the keys. And here they couldn't touch it. They didn't want to swipe. They didn't want to do that. So therefore, how do you change things? How do you disrupt people? You disrupt them by giving them what they want. That is better. I mean, that's what Elon Musk says. Elon Musk, that is the secret, which is that you give people what they want and you create a business where the value is not in the business, but in the fact that the business is providing a better solution that people want. But then you're going to go, wow, that's what Elon Musk said. That's obvious. I mean, everybody knows that. No, obviously not. That's that simple. Give them a solution that people want. Okay. So let me stop this. So now, so what is marketing therefore for you? What is marketing? Huh.
Would it be like convincing other people of something?
So convincing means there's an element of persuasion. Means that you're gonna have to find a compelling reason. The problem is convincing costs money. You see, for example, you convince someone by telling them 2 for the price of 1. That costs money. You're convincing them by giving them something that is so much better that they can't not see it. That costs more money. So you want to create a product that sells itself. You want to minimize marketing. It's funny because good business is business where marketing is minimized. And what's increased is word of mouth. It's people telling other people. That's the most powerful marketing, and it's the cheapest. But before you get to that, is you have to create some compelling product for the right customer.
So I have a question. Sorry.
Yes.
What you say about word of mouth, would you say that word of mouth is the best form of marketing, or
Yes.
would you say that word of mouth is the opposite of marketing, and marketing is something that's done from a certain perspective imposed rather than word getting around on its own?
No, yes. So thank you for your question. That's a very good question. The word of mouth is not the opposite of marketing, because when you do marketing, is to generate word of mouth. Ultimately, the end goal. So it's not the opposite. But word of mouth is the ultimate marketing. It's the end goal. And word of mouth is part of marketing. When you try to do like there's this thing called buzz marketing, guerrilla marketing. All of this is to specifically create word of mouth. So influencers, social media. This is to create word of mouth. Is to look like you're not doing any marketing. Is you make it look like there's no marketing, but there is. It's the people doing it. You've manipulated the people so much. You've controlled the people so well that they are the one telling other people what you should do.
Professor, could I ask a question about that?
Of course, yes.
I just am wondering what your thoughts are. If the item, it does what it says it is and does what it says it's done, is it really manipulation to have people talk about it? Or is it just natural? Like people talk about something good, whereas manipulation to me implies.
Yeah, but okay. So that's a very good question, and the answer is deep. So brace yourself.
Okay.
Very good question, but you asked me a deep question. I hope you're not the only one that's going to get it. Okay, so the problem, and what I'm going to say is insulting, not to you, but to consumers. And you may not all understand it today, but I would say 80% will understand by the end of the month, next month. Consumers are not the best judge about what's good and what's bad. So therefore, they are always manipulated. So I'll give you an example. Cohort 1, who was the client in cohort 1?
The students.
No. The client of cohort 1 was Dr. Dre. Man, I even forgot the headphones of Dr. Dre. I forgot how they call. Very famous headphones. They were all over the place before. Beats. Yeah, Beats. Because of the cognac and because the business, blah, blah, I ended up meeting Dr. Dre and all this. And back then, he had started this thing in Santa Monica, and he had like 6 employees. So that was really the beginning. And I told him, hey, let me take it with my students. And I took it with the students, and we did something fantastic. And we give them feedback, and they absolutely loved it. But they didn't use the idea of the students because that company was growing so fast. I mean, I think after a year, they had 2,000 employees. It was just growing so fast. I think probably everybody in the class right now can say that they had a Beats, or they knew someone that had one, right? Okay, so everybody did. Everybody bought this thing. And so, so now I'm going to sound bad for Dr. Dre, but the students did the research. That was not the best headphone. I'm sorry to tell you. It was not the worst headphone, but it was not good. And so what happens is Dr. Dre sold them like hotcakes. And there was, I mean, he was the king of word of mouth, right? And I think people were telling each other that it's the best headphone. But the students, at the, like first day like that, if I ask them, is the Dr. Dre headphone, you know what they would say? Let's say this is the class. We go back in, when was this, 2012 or whatever. And this is the class. And I tell them, oh, is Dr. Dre headphone good? Beats. Everybody says it's good. It's the best. 3 weeks after doing research and all that, you know what they said? No, it's not good. Wow, that's interesting. How can the general population think something is good and then they study it in a class, they're being graded, and then they come back with objective facts and it was not that good. When I was asking them the first week, why is it good? They would say, oh, because there's a bass and there's a bass that it's set up for rap and all of this. You know what that was? That was what they heard from celebrity. They were repeating what someone told them. I mean, Dr. Dre told them. They were NBA players saying that. They were everybody, all the celebrity was saying what they were hearing. They had no idea. I mean, you see this in the media all the time. I mean, I remember at the beginning of December, people said, oh, there is a new virus. It's called Omicron. And it's a virus that is not very dangerous. And it's a virus that is very, you can catch easily. And then I was saying, where did they hear that? There was no research at the beginning of December that said that. It was one journalist that told another journalist that told another journalist, and then everybody was saying that. I had a neighbor, you know, I come and say, how are you doing? Oh, I'm not worried about Omicron. You know, it's like, where did they hear that? Is it heard that nowhere? It's written nowhere. There was no research that you could trust on the 2nd of November on that specific subject. The people were all repeating the same thing. So now to answer your question, that's why it's a long answer to something very important, which is that the consumers don't know. Then you're going to say, oh, you're insulting me. I know. Don't take it personally. Consumers don't know. Consumers are rarely the expert. Very rare, but they are the expert. Okay, so let me give you another example that you will understand, and I'll use it. This is not a waste of time. You need to understand that, because that means that when you are in marketing, you're the boss. And therefore, you can decide what you want people to believe. But you can decide them to believe something real, or you can make them decide to believe something fake. So then you can use marketing for good things, or you can use marketing for bad things. You could say, hey, you know what? Fur look good. Fur, it's nice, a fur. A nice fur, it's warm. When it's cold, you need a fur. And you look good, you look rich, you look important. You need a fur. Or you could say, I wonder where that fur comes from. Oh, it comes from a farm. Oh, how do they treat the animals? Oh, they slaughter the animals. Gee, they don't even kill the animals before they get the fur. They just get the fur, and that's what kills the animal. Gee, that sounds wrong. So then you can do marketing that you want, you know, against milk or for milk, against fur or for fur. And the people are totally manipulated. It's all decided by the power of the business. So I'll give you another example. I hope that I will get your understanding on this. Now, imagine that you're selling vanilla. You want to make nice pastries and you sell vanilla. So then you go, you know what? I want to sell the best vanilla. You Google where is the best vanilla, and you find that the best vanilla is in Madagascar. Then you fly to Madagascar for one day to buy vanilla for your bakery. And when you go to Madagascar, what is it that you find? That in Madagascar, there's 50 types of vanilla. So then you go, oh my God, 50 types. I can't be here for a day. I need to stay here for 2 weeks. Then you spend 2 weeks to study vanilla. And after 2 weeks, you end up in the jungle in a small farm. And this is where they make the best vanilla. Now you've tasted all of this vanilla. You go back to America. You go back to Los Angeles. You put it in your bakery. And then people come and eat your baked good with that vanilla that is amazing. And you know what people say? the vanilla is okay. It's not that great. Then you scratch your head and you go, how come? That vanilla is more expensive, is the best one. I did all of this work, all of this research. Experts agree. So then you take the vanilla, you take 99 cents vanilla, that is essentially recycled oil from a truck. And then you take an okay vanilla that is mass produced, is not really good. You give it to 1,000 people. Then what do you find? You find that there's 90% of the people that are going to tell you that the okay vanilla, the cheap vanilla, is the best one. Then you're going to have 10% that are going to tell you that the disgusting oil, truck oil vanilla, like, I mean, it's so much chemical, is horrible. And then you're going to have 10% that's going to tell you that the really, really good vanilla was actually the best one they've ever had. Then you start looking at the 100 people here and all that. And then what you find is most of the people that told you that the fantastic vanilla, they work in the food industry. They cook, chef. The people that told you that the 90% that is the okay one, cheap, is the general population. Because being an expert, selling things for the expert is not very good. You could make 100 examples of this, of songs that are, if people didn't know, are terrible. And yet everybody thinks they're wonderful, right? I give you an example of my own family. I have younger kids, and they are like, let's say 12 and 13. I listen to Queen, the band Queen, okay? So I listen to Queen and I tell my kids, this is fantastic. They listen to it and they go, this is horrible. It's not Drake. Drake is good. This is horrible. Then I said, okay, it's horrible, but Queen used to be very good and blah, blah, blah. I think it's good. Then there's the movie Queen that comes, and everybody goes sees the movie Queen. My kids end up going to see the movie Queen. Then they come back from the movie and I do what I do. I don't change my mind. I play Queen. And then I see my kids hearing the music and going like this. And I go, oh, what is going on? You like Queen now? Oh, yeah, it's good. Queen is good. And then I look at them and say, whoa, when did that change? Oh, yeah, you went to see the movie, right? Yeah. Oh, I wonder if that changed your mind. People don't know. People are like a clean slate. People are like clean slates. This is what people are.
So,
yeah.
Can I ask you, especially the example of the Beats headphones made me think of trends and fashion and how that relates to word of mouth and marketing. And it seems like trends can be thought of as like a big wave that moves through the culture. Sometimes people like more of this style and then it swings back the other way. And that a company can use that to their advantage with their marketing and also press on the scales a little bit, but that mostly the culture and what people want is gonna be there whether or not that product is there. Like if Dr. Dre never made Beats headphones, it's really easy to imagine another kind of headphones that had the similar bass and the celebrity marketing and all of that and took over that niche. I don't know, I don't have a question, but yeah. What do you say about the relation between like intentional marketing from a marketer's perspective and
culture trends.
how to work with the natural trends?
Yeah. So this is what I understood this exact point from you, and that's a very important point, which is here's the thing also that's somewhat confusing for students, is that what I tell you is rarely 100% true all the time, because in business there's almost never anything that is like mathematics, 1 + 1 = 2 100% of the time. In business is never that. However, there's like the 90% rule. 90% of the time, that's what happens. So in that situation, it's you should never try to set a trend. So that's 90% of the time true. You should always try to surf an existing trend and surf it in an angle that is in your advantage. So what happens is, imagine a surfer, you live in California, you've all seen a surfer, or maybe you are a surfer yourself. As a surfer, you should never try to make a wave. It's too much work. That's what I'm trying to say. In general, it's too hard. As a surfer, you should look at waves and not try to take every wave, because they are not all equal. You should try to collect as much information on those waves, and based on the information, guess which wave is better for your style. And then, based on your experience, by looking at what you can see, based on this, you know if this one is for you, for your style, if that one means you need to go left, or if you go right, based on some evaluation of what you see the wave to be. So in business, it's the same. So you don't create the trend 90% of the time, because I mean, if you are Apple, you know, big companies like this, maybe you can, but even then, it's not recommendable. So it's probably 98% of the time you don't want to create a trend, but you seize trends, and the best trends to seize. Now I can make a reference to Bitcoin if you want. It's when it's at the very beginning, when the Bitcoin is 10 cents, not when it's $70,000. So it's the same thing. So then what it takes is therefore to understand that you don't lead, but you take leadership. So you don't create the wave, but you take a leadership within the wave. You make a decision, you make a commitment. And then when you make that commitment, is you try to make a commitment to something that you're the most appropriate to make the commitment. And so now if I go back to the project that was done with cohort 1, I give you the pitch. What the students did that was brilliant is they see what Dr. Dre did. But I forgot, he had a partner. It was not just Dr. Dre. It was Dr. Dre and another guy who was famous for rock and roll and country music. There were two people, Lewis or whatever his name was, Lennox or whatever. It was Dr. Dre and someone else.
Like Jimmy Iovine?
Yeah, Jimmy Iovine. Exactly. So what they did, the students, is they said, you know what they're doing with beats is perfect. There's not much you can do. These guys nailed it. And that was at the beginning, like I said, 2001 or whatever it was, 2011. Anyway, and so they said, but what we do is we're going to make a brand that is going to be, again, a brand between Dre and Iovine, but it's going to be a brand for the rock and roll. We're going to do the same thing, but for the rock and roll. The headphone for the rock and roll. And instead of being Beats, they came up with another name. Then they did an analysis. And that worked because they already had the reputation for Beats by Dre for making headphone. Then the other partner was very liked, had a really good reputation in whatever it was, rock and roll and so forth. They had the connection, they had the friends, they could do the word of mouth as well. And they would use just a different sound with the headphone, and they would use sort of the same method, but to milk a different group of people, very different group of people. And so that was so brilliant because they thought out of the box and they came up with a brilliant idea. And that's why I put this image here. Normally it's an image that I show in class and everybody laughs, to tell you the truth. I've shown this more than 20 times in class. And it's just a big laugh because everybody looks at this and say, oh yeah, I got it. That's what marketing is about. Marketing is if you do something, you need to know who you're doing it for, because you need to know their buttons. And then I show this, and these are buttons. And you need to know their buttons, and you need to know what you need to do to them in order to get their response. And when they respond, they thought that they're responding because they made the decision. But people don't think. People only use 5% of their brain. Most of the time, what people do is they react. They don't analyze. They don't criticize. They don't go deep. They jump to conclusion. Why do people jump to conclusion? Why don't people think? Why do you think people don't think?
It's
They have-
easier not to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easier not to. Then you're going to say, okay, so of 100%, professor, what's your guess? 99%. 99% of people think that they know, believe what they believe, and based on what they think they know and what they know, that makes their belief, and therefore they think they're doing it right. But it's only based on what they know. Before I came to America, if you ask me, do you want a burrito? No, I don't want a burrito. Do you want a quesadilla? No, I don't want a quesadilla. Then you go, why he doesn't want a quesadilla? Then, do you know what's a burrito? No, I don't know what's a burrito. Do you know what's a quesadilla? No, I don't know what's a quesadilla. No wonder he doesn't want a burrito or a quesadilla. He doesn't know what it is. Now I came to the US and I've been exposed to Mexican food, and I've had burrito and I have quesadilla. Now you ask me, do you want a burrito? Yeah, not every day, but I like burritos. So what happens is that's how you manipulate people, is you give them the information in a way that it's packaged, that they memorize it because it's easy. And then that turns into a belief. And then that belief is what makes them do things. And then they think they know. But they don't know. Because let's be honest, knowing takes a lot of effort. Knowing takes a lot of time. Knowing takes a lot of openness of the spirits, because to know and to learn, you need to recognize that you don't know before. And most people don't want to recognize they don't know. They just want to recognize that they already know. And if they don't know, they look for a quick information, like a fast food information, in order to make a decision. Wow, are you telling me they do that even when they buy a $200,000 diamond ring? Yeah, to some extent. It's the same. They're going to go to Tiffany's and they're going to say, I'm in Tiffany's. It's going to be fine. And that's the decision they're going to take just based on the brand. And then the brand can take advantage, because they know people make decisions that are very shallow. They don't go deep. So what I told you right now, it's a very sort of very insulting and very putting down on people. And I look like a French asshole in a way, right? I think you could say. But what happens is, if you look in the syllabus, I have videos from people that did TED Talk just on that and make people believe anything. I think one of them is cool. And it's a 15 minutes video from a world famous psychologist that says exactly that to thousands of people. And it has 5 million views and everybody thinks that video is great. That's what he talked about. She's just focused on that. Could it be the only one to think this? No, when you work in marketing and you have work like I do, and you do the things that I do, and you've done it at a high level, I can tell you that's what you do, is you constantly manipulate, constantly. But manipulate is, if you have good intention, it's good. You help people. And that's why I have this image here, which further my insulting. Is, to me, what I see myself as a shepherd. And I use marketing to direct people. I look at people and I go, bah, bah, and then they follow me. And I don't lead them to a black hole. I lead them to the good thing. And everybody can decide to be a shepherd and use marketing in order to lead them to the good things. If you look at this is a picture I took myself. I have the video as well. What's interesting is you can see that it takes one sheep to move 100,000 of sheep. I know it's called Instagram, but anyway. And there is not Instagram. This is Instagram in the mountains. Is one to do things. You know, I work with influencers. I mean, they do anything for money. They have no bones, no backbones. People love them. They're influencers. They believe everything they say. And those influencers, they use it They'll say, you know, I had one bottle of, I did an exercise like this. I had one bottle that I wanted to sell $3,000. I asked an influencer to put it on to do a blast, and I sold. He didn't even taste it. He said it was fantastic, blah 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 blah. He said it was the best cognac ever, and I sold so many bottles. Never tasted it. People saw the influencer and they went bah, bah, and they just followed. They went for the crack. They don't think. And so that's the world that we live in. And at the end of this class, you may be very sad, but you will see that it can be used for good too. It's the same. It's directions. And so, do you have any questions?
I have to. Basically, using the example of the vanilla, marketing is basically make up the truth to make people believe something, right? So, if I'm correct, how can we do marketing with low income? Because in order to deliver information to many people, we need to pay media influencers or other people. How can we deliver that information if we don't have that much income? Using the example of the Queen movie, they made a movie and that's expensive. So yes. What happens if you don't have the money?
Yes. This is a fantastic question. And I'm sorry, I can't see you. Here. Who was speaking?
Me, Jersey.
Oh, Jersey. Yeah, it's a fantastic question. And so that's I envision you and I having this conversation in 2 weeks when you're talking about the client and you're saying, okay, we have all of these good ideas, but that costs money. And so not only you have to be a disruptor in your ideas, but you have to be a disruptor also on how you implement these ideas. Because, you know, I can tell you this is when I was doing this project 6 years ago with the cohort from 6 years ago, we were having fun because we were using social media. And back then, that was the answer to your question. To be honest, it came as a miracle for anyone, for me, for any small business. It was this miracle until 6 years ago, and then starting 6 years ago, it became pay to play. You know, not free anymore, and not easy anymore as it used to be. Because the big businesses, they didn't want to lose, so they started investing in social media, and now they are fake. And now it's the kingdom of fake because they control social media. So now how do you deal with it? You'll see Matus. Matus was a band that was really a band of guys. They were very charming. And that was the first thing they said. Our music is good, but we're broke, like beyond, I mean, we're like almost street people. And so how are you going to manage street people, cool artists, but they essentially live on someone's couch? But they told us that we live on someone's couch. We don't even have a house. And that's our budget. And so their students scratched their head, but they found ways, very clever ways. And it was more like a barter that they had to. So now here's what's very important. And that's super important. And that's why you need to take sometimes several years. Like for Matus, we couldn't say, you're going to do this, and in 1 year, you're a celebrity. Is we had to take into account their budget, which my guess, as of today, we're not Saturday, but as of today, I'm guessing that Tariq doesn't have a lot of money either. That's my guess. I don't want to be presumptuous, but that's my guess. So then we had to think about a way to build him in a matter of 5 years. So what he was doing for the first 2 years was not to become the celebrity that we all wish he became, but was to do a number of things in order to seed his position, to start making some money, and then use that money to seed himself to the next stage. So the students there to make phases. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Phase 1, you do X, Y, and Z, Y, we make some money. When we make that kind of money, then we have phase two. We take this amount of money that we made and we invest it in this in order to build the momentum for phase three. And then phase three is this. So I sort of answered your question because I didn't give you a magic stick, which is the answer on how you do it without money. But the true answer to this is it's phases. So what's interesting is, and that's why the second interview is oftentimes very important, is because we start thinking about the phases, but there's a number of things that the people don't want to do. And so we need to clear out what is it that we can tell the client to do on phase one and phase two if they're never going to want to do that. Maybe your client doesn't want to do music, which I don't know, I make up something and I don't want to insult anyone, but let's say the type of music the client is doing is more like a masculine. And we found that to make some money, he would have to change his music to be more liked by girls, let's say. I'm not making it up. Don't think I'm making fun of girls or I'm being sexist. It's just an example for the sake of discussion. Then everybody's in jazz. That's what we should do. We should tell them to slightly change the music, make it more for girls. That way they start doing concerts with girls and sorority or whatever the thing, right? I'm making it up. But then at the interview, we find that the last thing they want to do is make music for girls. That kills all the plan because we're not going to bring this up in the final day. Oh, we found an idea, you do girl. We already know that's exactly what they don't want to do. So that's why you have to think about plan A, plan B, and then if not A and B, there's going to be a plan C. And that way you go to, when is this? The 5th of March, and you've got those contingency plans. Then you discuss with the clients. You be careful on the way you ask your question because you don't want to link your ideas for the other team to say, oh, I think they asked this question because they were thinking that. So you're smart also because it's competitive. And then the client answer, and then you get the answer for you to know which direction you should go. But thank you, Jersey, for this question, because that's going to, I'm 99% sure that this will be a big difficulty that you will have to face.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, any other questions? Okay, so we go back to, so what is marketing? So it's a short answer, but there's a lot in there. So marketing is a process. So you will see that there is a process which is there's objectives, strategies, and tactics. And then there's the 4 Ps. And then you have to think about high level, low level. So that's something you will know in a month. So there's processes. So it's the delivery, there's transport, logistics. So that's all the processes. But what's important, if there's one word that summarizes marketing, you know what it is? It's satisfaction. Marketing equals satisfaction. Okay, so what is satisfaction? And anyone knows. Satisfaction is the difference between what you expect to get and what you get. So I expect to eat this in this restaurant and to come out not wanting to eat further, more. You go, you eat, you full, you come out, you're satisfied. I expect to drive this car and not use a lot of gas. You drive the car, it doesn't use a lot of gas. You're satisfied. So satisfaction is the difference between what you expect and what you get. So when you're in marketing, that's the big picture, is you satisfying. But what's behind this is, remember, I mentioned that many times, is you cannot satisfy everyone. You have to find who you want to satisfy and what are their buttons. What do you need to say in order for them to say that's what I want? And then that's another section that is very important, is you need to do it in a way that is profitable. Should all the businesses try to be profitable? Should all the businesses try to be profitable? are there businesses that should not, businesses that should not be profitable?
I mean, I
want-
think of like nonprofits, but they still need to function.
Yes. Well, non-profit, you know, I mean, I think the Vatican, you know, the Catholic religion, I think that's the wealthiest organization on earth, the Vatican. And yet it's a church, it's a religion, right? So the Red Cross, I mean, they have billions of dollars. They are in assets. So, you know, there's profitable and non-profitable. And this is a legal statement. This is an accounting, it's a tax definition. But the reality is every organization should try to be profitable because you can always reinvest your profits in order to satisfy more people. So if you're the Red Cross, is you want to make as many profits as possible because you want to have some money to take care of more people, to help more people and have some money in case there is something. There's a tsunami, now you've got the money. You don't want to be zero and then there's a tsunami and you go, quick, we need some money to help with the people with the tsunami. The people need the help right now, not in a year. So every organization is striving for profits, to have more members, to have more money, to grow. Obviously, there's some companies that are like super profit oriented, extremely profit oriented, and you have some organizations that have a small profit. So when you use marketing, the objective is to not just grow the number of sales, is you also need to have the safety of knowing that your business is solvable. So you make profit. Then what's the concept of long-term in this? The idea of long-term is a very healthy idea, which is that you build a relationship. So if whatever you do is you don't do it for the one time. You don't try to take advantage of people, is you try to grow a relationship where people keep coming back. So you want to keep coming back. Why do you want to keep coming back? Is because the more they come back, the less you need to use marketing. If people come back, you spend less marketing. If people don't come back, you need to spend more marketing. Marketing is to encourage people. It's a way to encourage people to buy from you. If they keep coming back, if they tell all the people, if they do word of mouth, your marketing budget can go down, can be reduced, okay? So what's very important is marketing is not just sales. Oftentimes people think of marketing as sales. Sales is marketing, advertising is marketing, propaganda is marketing, product development is marketing, storytelling is marketing, merchandising is marketing, product development is marketing, branding is marketing, pricing is marketing, distribution is marketing. So it's like, wow, so many things are they covered by marketing, okay? And so this is very important to understand this and understand that sales, if you need to invest in sales, or if your marketing is summarized by sales, is your marketing has sort of failed, because a successful marketing is a marketing where sales is made easy because people want, just think about, I don't know, Rolex, a Rolex watch. Do they do marketing? They do a ton of marketing, but they do a marketing that is not in your face. They don't say 2 for the price of 1. They don't do promotions. They don't advertise all over the place. They're very specific. They sell in very specific store. So it's exclusive distribution. They do sponsoring of events, you know, red carpet, sport events, charity events, you know, some very specific event like this. You know, they invite you on special island events, you know, for different VIP and all this. They work at that level. And also what they do is they do scarcity. They reduce the inventory, or at least they reduce the perception that there is a low inventory. You know, that's one thing, is nobody knows, but there's about 1 million Rolex watches produced every year. That's not rare, but what people think it is very, very rare, because they have some very rare model that everybody talks about, some very rare custom model. But what they mostly sell is the one that everybody see in their head when they think about a Rolex. These are all over the place. Okay, and they also, in a strange way, benefit from the marketing of fake Rolex, which indirectly is generating interest for the real one. So that's also a very dangerous thing, because if you have too many fake, it's not good. But having being the one of the most fake watch is very good, because it creates some kind of awareness. So it creates a popular awareness of something that is still very expensive. So you have to think about all of these different aspects. Do you have any questions? No? It's funny, someone is making some noise. I can't tell what that is, but let's see. Oh. Anyway, so now, can you make people buy things? Can marketing make people buy things? Can marketing make people feel like they need things?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. So marketing makes people buy things, makes people feel like they need things. However, can marketing create a need? It depends. It depends on your definition of a need. If a need is an innate feeling, like you need to drink, you need to eat, you need to breathe, you need to sleep, it doesn't. Marketing doesn't tell you you need to sleep in a mattress made of feather, a mattress made of cotton, a mattress made of latex. The need of sleeping is there. But then marketing tells you, ooh, if you sleep in a mattress made of latex, you're not going to get as much allergies, but it's going to be pretty soft. If you sleep in a bed made of feather, it's going to be very warm, but you're going to have a lot of allergies. And if you sleep in a bed that is made of cotton, it's going to be very firm, but it's going to have a lot of allergies, and it's going to be very warm. So then at the end, you're very confused. If you're a brand that's making latex, you're going to say latex is better, and you're going to use the argument that you can use against the other one, and you're going to try to convince people that this is better. And so you don't create needs. Needs exist. Marketing people, what they do is they create want. You see, you need to drink, but you don't need to drink Diet Coke, caffeine-free, I don't know, kosher, vitamin, and fair trade. That's all of these are concepts, marketing concepts that are used, or cultural concepts that are used by marketing in order to increase the consumption of their products. It's a position. It's an image. It's an identity, and then they convince people for that identity. Okay. I know it's getting pretty late, so I'm gonna stop here, I think, for tonight. That way I don't put you more to sleep. But I hope that you enjoy this class. I hope that you see that it's very much a class that prepares you to think about marketing and employing marketing in the music industry, using a real case example of a real client, which is in the music industry. It doesn't get more music industry than that client. Using outside of the box, a creative perspectives, being a researcher, because you're gonna have to research, you're gonna have to substantiate, working in a group, and using your group in the most efficient way in order to help one another. And you will go through several stages of different presentation in order to prepare you to become a better presenter. You may not notice this that much, but I will notice the big difference from the beginning to the first class of entrepreneurship. Because in first class in entrepreneurship, I see a huge difference because the students are ready to go. They've been prepared and they run with their projects. Okay, so it makes a huge difference, and it's very exciting to be teaching this class because you learn very fast. I know this from every group, and I've heard a lot of good things about your cohort as well. I've high expectation because I've been told that you're quite amazing. So now I'm sort of I hope so. I think I can't wait to see that. But just see that the first assignments are going to be sort of not that easy because you have to push yourself. They come very quick, but don't feel bad. I'll be nice, and I understand. Someone has to start. Okay. So what about the groups? I only got one email, so have we made it better? Okay. Yeah. So I've got only two groups. I only got two groups, so I'll send you back an email telling you who they are. That way you can see who and where and who I'm missing. I do this very often, so that's not the end of the world, but we want to get this started as soon as possible because you don't want to wait, okay?
Professor?
Yes.
As normally, all past classes, like the groups, it's actually in Canvas. It is where you can go and click and join groups and stuff. That's why it's kind of complicated. Because the way you're doing it, it's like we have to know everybody's contact and stuff. So it's like it's
Oh,
only.
but you don't know?
Not really. We don't have everybody's contact. Like it's just it's easier if you set it up in Canvas where we can go join groups and stuff.
Okay, so I look into that.
Everybody agrees with me.
Yeah, I look into this. It's just that I've never seen it this way because people usually, I mean, you've known each other for a year and a half or something. So I'm surprised you don't all know each other that much.
I know we know each other, but I'm saying, so like we already have two groups out of us. So I guess that's you was right when you said you're going to send the groups that's already been formed. So we don't know who's in the group or not. So being in Canvas is easy. You can tell.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do that.
Please, thank you.
We'll work it out.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other questions? No? Okay, very good. So I'll see you on Saturday. So it's Saturday, it's at 8:30. So we'll continue on the class. And then at 10, we'll have Tariq join us. And then I'm just guessing we'll do probably over an hour with him. And that way we can get you started on who he is and what he does. So between now and then, try to search for him. That way you know a little bit more about his music and also where does he post, how many songs does he have, who does he work with, what kind of style, maybe what about the style he had before. That was the case with Alex Ritchie. Alex Ritchie had so many different genres of music. I mean, I think he had every genre of music, Alex Ritchie. He had reggaeton, rap, rock and roll, reggae. It was mariachi. I mean, he had 15 different styles. But I don't think that's the case with as much, at least, with Tariq. But we need to find out. And sometimes it's tough. Sometimes we have to tell the clients that they need to change a lot of things. So I was excited to see you for the first time, and I look forward to growing the quality of this class for you to learn and be better prepared.